This morning in the street outside the labor pool, a woman in shabby clothes peddled hot biscuits from a cart, and another, no older than Erno's little sister Celeste, sold jump blood in plastic bags. Inside, 40 men and women sat on plastic chairs. Some were eating biscuits they had bought outside, others played cards. The muñeco slouched in his cube off to the side with his feet up on his desk. If people tried to talk to him, he just opened one lazy eye and cracked a joke. His white shirt and detachable collar were pristine, as if he expected to move up soon, but his demeanor belied that expectation. Down on the miracle kilometer, beyond the last pressure wall, the wealthy had their homes in the park. Erno had walked down there one time, ogling the large, clean banks of buildings, the conspicuous waste of water in the fountains, the lush, hanging gardens. The muñeco would never live there. None of them would. It reminded him a little of the apartments on the ring wall back at Fowler. But at home, living in such a nice place was not a matter of having money. And here, even the rich had to breathe the same bad air, and they made people sit in a room waiting for work when they could just as easily register workers online and call them by remote. Erno joined the crowd before the video wall, watching the replay of last night's hockey game against Aristarchus. He sat next to Rudy, an old man he had worked with several times. "Any work today?" "Not unless you're a dog." Rudy's cracked voice bore witness to too many years breathing agglutinate dust. Fucking dogs. Who can compete with a dog? "Dogs are trustworthy, all right," Erno said, "but people are smarter." He glanced up at the screen. "How'd the Gunners do last night?" Rudy snorted, which turned into a racking cough. He leaned forward, and his face turned red. Erno slapped his back when the cough at last petered out. Rudy drew a shuddering breath and continued as if nothing had happened. "They're getting paid to play that game? Professionals." The video, subjective from the POV of Gunners defenseman Hennessy Mbarra, showed him cross-checking an Aristarchus forward into a high parabola out of the rink. The forward bounced off the restraining netting and landed on his feet and deflected a chest-high pass from the center past the Gunners' goalie. The siren wailed. People in the labor pool shook their heads, smiled grim smiles. They stuffed another stick of mood gum and complained about the coach, the strategy, the star forward who was in a scoring slump. The goalie, according to the regulars, had lost all hand-eye coordination. Erno was still musing over Rudy's comment. Where does that word come from, professional? That makes it sound like if you claim to be something, that makes you more than someone who just does that thing. Rudy looked at him sideways. "They're freaks. They get paid big money, and they've got no balls anymore, and they're going to be dead before they're 50. "Yes, but what about the word? What does a professional profess?" "Erno, please shut up." Erno shut up. He had never gotten used to the way men here considered every conversation to be a competition. The voice of the muñeco broke in. "I need 6 certified remote integrated object printer handlers for the Dargo Industries." The men and women in the room sat straighter in their chairs. The card game stopped. Fraz Yellow, Min, Renker, Wolf, Maravich, Tajik. Have your prods ready. The laborers' names all checked in at the window, ran their forearms through the scanner, and were let through the bubble where they would be hustled by cart out to their posting. They left a score of grumbling unemployed in their wake. Behind Erno, one of the card players threw in her hand, the cards sliding across the table and floating to the floor. "I've had enough for today," she said. The room began to clear out. This late in the day, there was little chance of any other work coming in. Erno stood, stretched his legs, touched Rudy on the shoulder, and left. The old man just sat there. Erno couldn't imagine a worse place to be at Rudy's age than the waiting room of the Mayer labor pool. Unless it was the debtor's freezer. He wandered back toward the weekend. When he got there, rather than continue on to the hotel, he slid into a seat on the patio of the Café Royal. A small patch of level concrete a couple of meters square, with yellowed fiberglass tables and tube chairs. The other buildings of Cal Viernes had grown up around it, leaving the café a little pit in the shadows. For 10 centimes you could buy a tumbler of wine and sit and talk with other unemployed. From the back came the smells of yeast cake and fried onions that made Erno's stomach growl. An onion sandwich cost a quarter. Erno counted his change. He had exactly 72 centimes. He poked the coins around the palm of his hand, his finger gliding over the raised profile of Friedman on the 2 quarters, Smith on the 2 dimes, Jesus on the 2 pennies. He ordered a wine and watched the sparse traffic on the boulevard. Pedestrians, electric carts, messenger dogs. A trio of loiterers at the next table were arguing. "They make big money on Earth," insisted one of them, slender with orange hair. "Earth? You couldn't stand up for 10 minutes on Earth," said the burly one with the shaved head. "Gen Mod takes care of that," the third said. "Denser bones, better oxygenation." These guys didn't have the money to buy new slippers, let alone therapy. As Erno listened to their aimless blather, Luis Ihoya came by and sat at the table. Luis was tall, slender, and wore tight silver pants and a loose black shirt. Whenever he smiled, his wide mouth quirked higher at one corner than the other, and his eyes closed to a squint. When Luis had asked Erno for money after the first time they slept together, Erno didn't understand what he was talking about. Today, Luis leaned in toward him and whispered in Erno's ear, "I've got a business proposition." "I'm not a bank, Luis." "You only need 40 ducats to get in on this." Erno laughed. "I don't have 40 ducats." "Don't kid me. You came here with money, cousin's money." "In that you are mistaken." "You don't have 40? So how much do you have, sweet boy?" Luis tapped his long fingers on the scarred surface of the table. The men in the emigration conversation were still going. "The polity on Earth know how to run a society." "Yes, they run things. That's the problem. Laissez-faire for me. You go one step outside the standard here, and the corporation will let you fare in the freezer." "I'm not afraid of the freezer." Besides his now 62 centimes, Erno had only the 1 ducat 30 on his bracelet, which he owed Anadem. "What's the proposition?" Luis looked at him through those squinted eyes, as if assessing whether Erno was worth his confidence. "I know who's going to win tonight's hockey game." "And how do you know this?" "I spent last night at the Hotel Serenitatis with the forward for the Aristocrats. He told me that the Aristocrats were going to throw the game." "Why would he tell you that?" "I have means of persuasion, dear boy. The odds are running 6-1 against the Gunners." "And if the Gunners lose?" "They won't lose. I know this, Erno. And now that you've told me, I know too. What do I need you for?" "You need me because I know the bookies and can get the best odds." As Erno and Luis haggled, Alois Reuther twitched by the cafe. He wore his blue suit and puffed nervously on a cigarette in his new left hand. The three men who had been arguing immediately got up. "Alwa, old friend," said the shaven-headed man, "we've been waiting for you. You need to come with us." Alwa's lenses rotated as he focused in on the men. He attempted to push past them. "No, I don't." "Au contraire," said the orange-haired man, putting his arm around Alwa's shoulder and guiding him toward the alley behind the cafe. "Mr. Blanc worries about you." "Your finances," said the first, "and your health." "For instance, this hand," said the third, taking Alwa's hand in his. "Has it been properly attached?" With that they disappeared around the side of the building. In a minute came sounds of a beating. Erno got out of his seat. Luis did not move. Nor did anyone else in the cafe. Erno circled around to the alley and saw the three men crouched over Alwa's body in the shadows. "Hey!" Erno shouted. "Stop!" The men looked up indifferently. "Where is it?" one of them asked the other, who was kicking around trash in the alley. "I don't know. It bounced over here, I thought. Why did you have to take it off?" "Just find it." A cloud of security midges was accumulating over their heads. Their tiny loudspeakers all spoke in unison, making an odd AI chorus. "In all disputes, entrepreneurs must relate to one another with complete transparency. Please wait here until the settlement agent arrives." The bald man reached into his blouse pocket and tugged out a card. He held it up to the monitors. "I have an accumulated social deviance credit," he announced. "And your colleagues?" The small man flashed his own card, but the orange-haired man did nothing. The bald man confronted him. "What? Don't tell me you're out of SDC." "Okay, I won't tell you." "Fuck," said the small man. "Fuck," said the big man. "I don't know why I married you. Let's go." They straightened and pushed past Erno onto the street. "Why are you—" Erno started. "Mind your own business," the tall man said as he shouldered past.